like superior to this originate from the various pharyngeal arches, and below this esophagus originate from the mesoderm. So all the cancers which arises below this carina, they will metastatize towards the abdominal lymph node, and all the cancers which arises above this carina will metastatize, will involve the cervical, this superior mediastinum and neck lymph nodes, and at the level of carina can go into either direction because of the embryological origin. Now there are three pathways of lymph node metastasis in esophageal cancer. One is the longitudinal spread, which occurs along the submucosa to the regional and non-regional lymph nodes. Regional lymph node I have already described. Second phase, transversely through the muscularis propria to the regional lymph node, and the third phase, which penetrate perpendicularly through the muscularis mucosa to the thoracic duct and the venous system. So in this way, it is clear that once the primary tumor infiltrates the submucosa of the esophagus, chances of lymph node metastasis increases. This is the AJCC classification, in which there's a seventh and eighth edition are same, in which they have described T, N and M classification. In T, primary tumor that cannot be assessed. High grade dysplasia is carcinoma. This is in situ. T1 is T1A and T1B, which includes muscularis mucosa and submucosa respectively. T2 is invades muscularis propria. T3 which invades adventitia, and T4A again divided into T4A and B on the basis of adjacent structure involvement. If it is involving pleura, pericardium and diaphragm, it is still resectable disease, and if it is involving the adjacent structures like aorta, vertebral body and trachea, these are the unresectable disease. Then in this lymph nodal classification, any periesophageal lymph node from celiac cervical node to the celiac nodes, this is based on the number of lymph nodes. So N1 is 1 to 2 lymph nodes involved, N2 is 3 to 6, and N3 is 7 or more. And then M classification, which is based on the distant metastasis, which involve M0 and M1.
Surgical classification where you look at the number of nodes. So is there any recommended minimum number of lymph nodes?
Yeah, this is like a debatable thing. Presently, few studies say there is no number of lymph node is adequate, but NCCN guideline in 2018 they say it's 15, at least 15 number of lymph nodes should be dissected, but still it is not defined.
So NCCN guidelines say 15. There are some studies which suggest a higher yield of lymph nodes is better. Then there's something known as lymph node ratio.
And, this is the flow chart depicting the how we manage this thoracic esophageal cancer. If it is T1A, N0, TIS, we go for endoscopic resection. If T1B, T2, N0, low risk, which include well differentiated less than 2 cm and patient is fit for surgery, we go for upfront esophagectomy. If it is T2, high risk, T3, T4A or N positive and fit for surgery, we give preoperative chemoradiation therapy followed by surgery. And if it is patient is unfit for surgery or T4B is involved, which is involving that vertebral body aorta, that is non-reconstructible, so definitive radiation therapy is given. So, now we come to the NCCN guideline for surgical therapy of esophageal cancer. Prior to the surgery, clinical staging is assessed for resectability with the CT scan of the chest, abdomen, whole body PET scan and endoscopic ultrasound. Prior to starting therapy, all patients should be assessed for by an esophageal surgeon for physiological ability to undergo esophageal resection. Esophageal resection should be considered for all the physiologically fit patient with the resectable esophageal cancer, that is at least more than 5 cm from the cricopharynx. Then positive peritoneal cytology, which is associated with poor prognosis and is defined as M1 disease. In patient with advanced tumor, clinical T3 or N1 disease should be considered for laparoscopic staging for peritoneal washing. T1A tumor, which is defined as tumor involving the mucosa. These are basically considered for endoscopic mucosal resection, ablation or esophagectomy in the experienced centers. Tumor in the submucosa or deeper may be treated with esophagectomy. T1 to T3 tumors are resectable even with regional nodal metastasis. T4A tumor, which involve the, as I've already explained, pericardium, pleura, and diaphragm are resectable, and which involving the heart, greater vessels, trachea, adjacent organs like liver, pancreas, lungs, spleen, these are unresectable diseases. This is the NCCN guideline, which say at least 15 lymph nodes should be removed to achieve the adequate nodal staging. But as ma'am has already explained, there are few studies which says as maximum number of lymph nodes you can achieve, that is
What's lymph node ratio?
I'll come to that. In the NCCN guidelines, the supraclavicular lymph node involvement should be considered unresectable, and type of esophageal resection is dictated by the location of the tumor and the available choices for conduit, as well as by the surgeon's experience and preference and patient's preference as well. Acceptable lymph node dissection, which includes standard and extended en bloc resection. Now, criteria for resection: esophagectomy as a first-line treatment for T1N0 and T2N0M0. Earlier, it was at few of the studies and few of the books mentioned T2N0M0 as a debatable. Some say firstly we should go for the chemo radio followed by surgery, but NCCN guidelines they should say this T2N0M0 the candidates for surgical treatment. Esophagectomy following neoadjuvant chemotherapy and neoadjuvant chemoradiotherapy. Patient with thoracic esophagus or esophagogastric junction tumors and full thickness involvement for esophagus with or without nodal disease, and again T4A diseases. Contraindication for surgery, which includes relative contraindications and indicators of unresectability. So relative contraindications: comorbid illness, patient is not fit for surgery, and unresectability is metastatic disease and extra-regional lymph node. Regional lymph nodes for all the location of esophagus include cervical and esophagogastric junction, extend from the periesophageal cervical lymph node to the celiac group of lymph node. Celiac nodal metastasis and mediastinal and supraclavicular nodes are scored. The mediastinal are scored as regional lymph node disease, and supraclavicular for the cervical, not for the thoracic esophagus. And number rather than the location of the involved lymph node determines the end stage. CA esophagus, types of surgeries, which include minimal invasive surgery and open. Minimal invasive include laparoscopic and robotic, and open which include transthoracic and transhiatal esophagectomies. What are the oncological principles for surgical management? That include thoracotomy, which is usually a right posterolateral thoracotomy, or which can be replaced by thoracoscopy in minimal invasive surgery, or sometimes it is thoracoscopic assisted surgery. Is performed to assess the resectability and exclude local invasion of the contiguous structure, and en bloc resection of esophagus is performed, and then followed by laparotomy, which again exclude metastatic disease, and stomach is mobilized with the reconstruction of conduit. And then we have the third principle is neck incision. Usually the left neck exposure is preferred. Left recurrent laryngeal nerve recur lower around the aortic arc rather than the right recurrent laryngeal nerve. So which recurs around the subclavian artery and is therefore more likely to be injured from the right neck approach. So that's why the left neck approach is preferred. Then comes to the transthoracic esophagectomy. This is the most common type of transthoracic methods are Ivor-Lewis, McKeown, and left thoracoabdominal approach. Now each method include thoracotomy. This transthoracic approach is more complete oncological operation because it provides the direct visualization and greater exposure, and also allows the surgeon to achieve the wider margin around the tumor and more extensive nodal dissection. Although most frequent complications are pulmonary, which may be due to the, as we have this thoracotomy has been done, so because of the pain and an asthmatic leak. If it occurs, that can be devastating because of the development of mediastinitis. Now, transthoracic esophagectomies include Ivor-Lewis, McKeown, and left thoracoabdominal. First of all, Ivor-Lewis. This is the figures depicting in which we can see there is a midline laparotomy incision and right thoracotomy incision for this. And this is the final, this is the resection line. Here we cut the whole of the esophagus. This is the tumor. And at the end of this, this is the anastomosis. So this is below the, this is anastomosis is in the thorax, as high up as we can achieve. This is that the stomach tube, and this is the staple line, suture line over the stomach, and this is the pyloromyotomy is also done along with that. In this, Iverluis was first described in 1946 and continues to be the most commonly performed method for esophageal resection for the diseases mainly of the middle and lower third of the esophagus. This approach begins with the laparotomy followed by a right thoracotomy. And in laparotomy, as I have already said, mobilization of stomach, metastasis, and lymph nodal dissection is done, which is along the celiac artery, splenic artery, and hepatic artery. And followed by pyloric drainage, in which pyloromyotomy is done, and then we make this gastric tube to replace the esophagus. Then next, this patient is put in the left lateral decubitus position, and right thoracotomy is done, in which azygous vein may be divided, and then we anastomose. All the dissection is done. Lymph nodal dissection is done, and then we anastomose it as high as up in the thorax. Now it should be as high as possible in the chest, usually at the level or above the level of the azygous vein, to achieve the best surgical margin and decreases the reflux of the this gastroesophageal reflux. Most commonly placed this conduit in the paravertebral space. Alternative route includes substernal or right paratracheal region. Then is the Mekion esophagectomy. This is a tri-incisional esophagectomy in which you can see the midline laparotomy, right thoracotomy, and the neck incision on the left side. This is for the anastomosis, in which we can say that anastomotic line is in the this neck region. In the previous one, it was here, in the thoracic region, as high as up, and this is in the neck region. This is the esophagogram, which is depicting, this is the remnant esophagus. This is, we have that anastomosis, and this is the gastric conduit. And then comes the Oringer's esophagectomy. This is the transhiatal esophagectomy, in which thoracotomy is not done. So from this laparotomy is done, transhiatal dissection is done, and then we anastomose in the neck region. Again, you can see the anastomotic line is in the neck region. And this is the final anastomosis, and this is the remnant esophagus, and this is the anastomotic site, and this is a gastric conduit. So this is above the this is in the neck region, so basically. But the major advantage of transhiatal technique is potential to diminish the respiratory complication, as we have not opened the thorax, and disadvantage are increased risk of anastomotic leak for cervical anastomosis, increased risk of subsequent stricture formation, and a higher risk of recurrent laryngeal nerve injury, as we are dissecting over the neck region. The procedure is performed in 3 phases. Again, laparotomy is done, followed by this formation of conduit, partial gastrectomy, and then gastric conduit is then brought up to the neck through the posterior mediastinum to create a cervical esophagogastric anastomosis. This is the way which we, through the hiatus, we dissect this esophagus. This is the esophagus, and this is the plane posterior to the esophagus, in which we do the blind dissection. And this is the plane which is anterior to the esophagus. One hand from this cervical incision and one through the transhiatal route. There's a surgeon exactly doing the blunt dissection along the thoracic esophagus. One hand through this transhiatal route, through the abdominal route, and one through the cervical route.
So it may lead to the inadequate lymph node dissection because
Yeah.
transhyatal.
That's a disadvantage of the technique. So transthoracic is better in achieving the better lymph nodal dissection. This is the in transthoracic versus transhiatal esophagectomy, which include oncological completeness of esophageal excision using the transthoracic and transhiatal method, in which R0 resection is more in transthoracic as compared to transhiatal. Similarly, number of lymph node are more in the transthoracic as compared to the transhiatal. Then there is modified Ivan-Lewis esophagectomy, which is the in which left thoracoabdominal incision is given, only the single incision is given, and gastric pull-up and an esophagogastric anastomosis in the left chest only. This is most useful for the gastroesophageal junction, but it is not most commonly performed because of the higher complication rates like post-operative reflux, because anastomosis is not in the higher up, and limitation of the proximal esophageal margin achieved by the aortic. So this is the extended thoracic transthoracic resection compared with the limited transhiatal resection for mid and distal esophageal cancer. There is no difference in the post-operative mortality or in overall oncological result, but a better long-term survival was achieved in transthoracic esophagectomy arms. Then, this is a 2012 meta-analysis which shows there was no difference in the blood loss, and transthoracic group had more respiratory complication, wound infection, early post-operative mortality, whereas anastomotic leak, anastomotic stricture, and retinal palsy rate was significantly higher in the transhiatal group, and trend toward the completeness is more in transthoracic as compared to the transhiatal. And then lymph node retrieval. This is so significantly greater in the transthoracic group by an average of almost 8 lymph nodes in this meta-analysis. But again lymphadenectomy and reported surgical quality was suboptimal in both the groups, and transthoracic group had significantly more advanced cancer. So finding of equivalent survival should therefore be viewed with caution. Then the concept of two-field versus a three-field lymph node. This is the figure which is depicting what is one field, two field, and three field lymph nodes. In the one field, these are the abdominal field groups. Then two field, which include the dissection around this mediastinum, and three field, which include the cervical group of lymph node. Now the area of concern is this two field. What is the definition of two field? That varies basically. That varies because lack of because of the difference in prevalence of squamous cell cancer in the east, and as in those patients from Western countries where adenocarcinoma has become the prevalent. So that's why the definition changes. Squamous cell cancer in the esophagus is a common pathology. So two-field dissection is, in that cases, two-field dissection is usually described as removal of the nodal tissue from the upper abdomen. This all of the celiac group of lymph node, as the paracardial, this splenic, left gastric, common hepatic, and celiac group of lymph node. This is the one field which include. Then another that two field, upper abdomen and inferior and superior mediastinum. Inferior mediastinum, which is below the level of carina, and superior mediastinum above the level of carina. And also along the both recurrent laryngeal nerve. So this is for two-field definition for squamous cell carcinoma, as it occurs more commonly in the upper esophagus. And in contrast to this, in countries where adenocarcinoma is more common, which is towards the lower end of this esophagus, two-field dissection usually regarded as the abdominal and this inferior mediastinal compartment. So we don't go for the superior mediastinal compartment. So the definition of two-field varies. One field, three field is same, and three field is mainly for that squamous cell carcinomas, and this two field is for this adenocarcinomas. So in just a bit more elaboration of this one field group of lymph node, which is abdominal group, it includes the superior gastric lymph nodes, which include this pericardial group of lymph node along the lesser curvature along the left gastric artery. Then this is the splenic artery group of lymph node, and this common hepatic artery. Beyond this is metastasis. Similarly, in this thoracic group of lymph nodes, which includes this thoracic group of lymph nodes, this is an infracarinal group of lymph nodes. This is the inferior thoracic part, which includes in the adenocarcinoma two-field lymph node dissection. And then second field of dissection commonly which involve this mediastinal, then thoracic duct, nodes at both of the pulmonary hilar, paraesophageal nodes, and those at the carina and paratracheal lymph node. Now the extended mediastinal lymph node dissection may also be carried out along the right side of the trachea, which I have already explained in the earlier slides, the right paratracheal and left paratracheal group of lymph node. Then comes the this total mediastinal. In the total mediastinal lymph node dissection, remove left recurrent laryngeal lymph node and subaortic lymph node as well. This is the total mediastinal dissection. And then three-field lymph node dissection, as we have already explained, first 1 and 2 field lymph node dissection, which also included this cervical field, which includes a 3-field lymph node dissection. In the cervical group, basically they are removing brachiocephalic, deep internal and external cervical lymph nodes, and also include the left and right recurrent laryngeal lymph nodes. So this is, as we have already discussed, not defined adequately. And some says AJCEC earlier say 10 lymph node, Dutch guidelines say 15 lymph node, and German guidelines say 20 lymph node, NCCN guidelines say 15 lymph node, but still not defined. Then transthoracic esophagectomy for adenocarcinoma esophagus, standard versus extended two-field this mediastinal dissection, in which extended lymphadenectomy increases the number of resected lymph node and improves the healthy over the involved lymph node ratio, and it allowed to detect the skip nodal metastasis. And morbidity was higher following extended lymphadenectomy with respect to the pulmonary complication and blood transfusion requirement. Nodal skip metastasis is a particular pattern of lymph node metastasis which involves the lymph node distant from the tumor site but not the peritumoral lymph nodes. This skip metastasis is common pattern of metastatic lymph node in the thoracic esophagus squamous cell carcinoma. However, neither overall survival nor disease-free survival are associated with the nodal skip metastasis. Then lymph node retrieval during esophagectomy with and without neoadjuvant chemoradiotherapy. This include 161 patient underwent surgery alone, and around 160 patient received multimodality treatment. And median number of resected lymph node was 18 and 14. With surgery alone and after this chemoradiation therapy. And out of which that lymph nodal ratio, which is the resected positive lymph nodes, were 2 in the surgery alone group and 0 in the patient who received multimodality treatment. So persistent lymph node positivity after the neoadjuvant chemoradiotherapy had a greater negative prognostic impact on survival as compared to the lymph node positivity after the surgery alone. Now the total number of resected lymph node was significantly associated with survival of the patient in surgery arm alone, but not in the multimodality this arm. In this study, total number of resected lymph nodes was significantly lower in patient undergoing neoadjuvant treatment followed by surgery than compared with the patient treated by the surgery alone. Now, after surgery alone, total number of resected node had a positive correlation with survival. This is probably because extensive lymph node dissection in patient undergoing primary surgery, but not in the patient undergoing surgery after the neoadjuvant treatment. So that's why they have a more this negative impact rather than a positive impact. Now, morbidity and mortality following esophagectomy. Overall incidence of post-operative complications varies widely between 20 and 80%. It includes systemic complication as already explained, this pneumonia, myocardial infarction, and complications specific to the surgical procedures. For example, an anastomotic leak. If it is the thoracic, that is more devastating because of mediastinitis, and cervical anastomotic leak are more common, although managed better as compared to the thoracic. And recurrent laryngeal nerve injuries. Pulmonary complications are the most common complication and most common cause of mortality as well, while anastomotic leak is the most dreaded. And overall in hospital mortality rate ranges from 0 to 22%, while the overall 30-day mortality rates are less than 1 to 6%. Now, anastomotic leak usually occur in 0 to 40%. It includes both
We
the
also have a presentation.
just one or two slides. Anastomotic leak 0 to 40%. It includes both thoracic as well as the cervical. And neck leaks, we generally wound, we locally manage the wound. And if thoracic leak are there, re-exploration, endoscopic stenting, clips or transluminal. This. And most common systemic complication is pulmonary. So take home message, transthoracic Makion approach with standard 2-field lymphadenectomy, ideal for middle and distal, again with the this queries. Transthoracic Makion with 3-field lymphadenectomy in upper esophageal tumor. Transthoracic esophagectomy is the mainstay of treatment for all the tumor of esophagus and GE junction, as it allows probably the best chance of complete resection, optimal lymph node dissection and improved survival. And transthoracic esophagus is the mainstay of treatment. In case of proximal tumor, in case of lymph node involvement in the cervical region, prior to the neoadjuvant treatment or during surgery, 3-field lymphadenectomy is mandatory. And adequate number of lymph node removal is still debatable, although NCCN guidelines give 15 lymph nodes.